Warning: the Gel Blaster toy shown in this video could be mistaken for a real firearm. Do not take Gel Blasters into public spaces or it will likely be treated as real by authorities. Gel Blasters are classified as toys in Queensland regulations, however this may be different in your state or territory. Be sure to check your local laws before buying or ordering a Gel Blaster. Also, ensure you use adequate eye protection whenever using Gel Blasters. Stay safe, everyone.
It's annoying. Anyway. So, g'day boys and girls, welcome back into the studio. I'm going to have another Gel Blaster review. Quickly, before I get onto that, what do you think of the new shout out / sponsor chalkboard? So, people who give me a bit of change, I'll give them a shout out because, I mean, if you're going to do that, the least I can do is recognise that you're actually willing to pay me something. Also, means I can start putting some patches up. These are just some that I had laying around. If you've got any patches or cool ideas, let me know down below. I'll definitely have a look at them. Tell me what you think. Cool, not cool, either or. Oh, and a follow-up on the AK. Broke twice. So, yeah, take that as it is. I do have an idea going forward on doing a follow-up video to some of the blaster reviews where I've used them over a bit of time and come back and just give you some thoughts, you know, a bit later on. And whether or not I still like them, if there's issues, that sort of thing. So let me know what you think of that down below as well. Probably will end up doing that. The first one will probably be the ACR or the AK. I'll probably end up doing both of them anyway, so yeah, either way. I will also have another channel chat video coming up soon because there are a few things I would like to go through. Nothing special though. Without further ado, we shall get into it. And what we're looking at today, if you haven't already guessed it, is the UMP45 Gen8 Gel Blaster SMG. So the UMP is a cool little design. It's a very unique looking design as opposed to the other design which came out of H&K, which was the MP5 originally. Now, I do like it. I do like the body. I do think it feels firm and I do like the shape of it. Obviously, that's a personal preference thing, but what we will do is we will jump straight into... No, we won't. I caught myself there. Something I want to say straight out is originally when these came out, you bought them as a kit. It was a shell, a body, and that was it. There was no gearbox, nothing. I think they average sold for around $130 from memory, but I could be wrong on that. You had to then get a Gen 8 gearbox and everything and put it in and make it work. This one comes with a Gen 8 in it, all wired up, ready to go. So this is a full functioning off-the-shelf blaster. Now, like I said, if you're going to buy something like this, be very cautious that you're not buying a shell. Make sure it has a gearbox. Now, most of the shops that I've seen, retailers on their websites, they only sell this with the full gearbox ready to go now. And I think their pricing is around $200. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on what the shop is. So that is nice that they give you this as an option now, independent of having to do any custom work to make it work. Because for someone who's useless, that's a cool benefit. But just be aware of that. The bodies were always nice. They are a nylon construction and they are fairly solid. But make sure you check on that before you buy. This one I did source through CQ Blasters because they're a relatively local store to me, so it's easy to go and pick it up, as opposed to a lot of the retailers which are based in Brisbane. Now be aware that I cannot guarantee that this blaster and gearbox combination is the same that what you'll get or from any other retailer. or even potentially the same retailer, because Lieutenant Dan also pulled one of these apart at CQ Blasters, and it looked like the gearbox casing was slightly different. It was more of, instead of a solid black, it was a smoked grey colour plastic. So just on that, I cannot confirm that they're all going to be the same. I really can't, which is annoying, but we'll get onto that towards the end. What we will do, jump into section 1 and the close-up look, starting at the business end. Now with this you do get a couple of little, not really flash hiders, but little bits of plastic you can put on the end of the actual inner barrel. So that is the inner barrel just showing out there. Now that is a plastic inner barrel, just to be aware. And yeah, it can fit onto there. Now one of them is bright red, if that's what you're into. I believe there's a black one as well, but that's cool. Moving further along, now up the top here you do have this cool little charging handle, and it does actually open up the ejection port, as you can see there. And there is a tab there, so you can actually lock it open like so. Now this doesn't have the MP5 slap. Don't go doing that, you will just snap that off. You've been warned, because there is a notch there. It's not really designed for that sort of thing. You could do it, but I wouldn't, because you're probably just going to break that. It's only a plastic handle, but anyway. Moving around the front end, you do have the front section of the iron sight. It is a tubular style with a little tab in there. I'll see if I can get that on my close-up. Yeah, close enough. Not only that, but this is sort of a handguard slash grip design. It's quite ergonomic. There is another option though where you can have Picatinny rails on this. Now, you can have a almost quarter rail setup where you can have one on the left, one on the right, and then one on the bottom just there. Now they all bolt in. Now, the one that I had is the one that I played gameplay in. I'll get to that later. It has a couple of them on, and these two were not actually milled out enough on the nylon for me to be able to put the bolts in. So, bit of an annoying quality thing there, but you can move past that. Moving further along the body, you do obviously go into the main body of the blaster, which is the actual receiver. The mag well is quite small. It does only take a small stick type magazine like that, which I will get to in the basic operations. You do also have obviously your ejection port, like I mentioned just there. You do have a faux fire select here. It doesn't actually move. It is a switch, like it is a tab, but it doesn't do anything. On the left hand side of the blaster, you have some cool H&K markings, so not at all a copyright issue there. You also have two sling attachment points, one just there and one just there. So there and there. And you then go down into the actual fire select. It doesn't do anything. So it's currently on safe, so no fire there. All that means is it stops the trigger from pulling back. If it's in semi or full auto, it'll fire full auto. So that fire select doesn't seem to make a difference to what I've seen. Yours may vary. There is just that little tab there, which is a bolt release button in a real weapon. In this, it's just a piece of plastic to sit there. Handguard is quite long. It is also plastic as well. The trigger is plastic. Don't go reefing on it like a standard Gen 8 trigger. You'll probably break it. And then you have your ambidextrous mag release just there. So then no matter what side, you can always get that mag out. The pistol grip, it is actually molded and kind of nice. So you can sort of see some texturing there. Also a grip on the front. I do like it. It feels firm. So it is quite a good little pistol grip. Considering it's meant to be a machine pistol or SMG for the rest of the world, that makes a good deal of sense. And they seem to have done that pretty well when they built this body. Moving along further to the back. Now, ultimately, the only thing before we get to the booty, which we all love, is the back end of the iron sights. Now, there is this top connection or tabs that sit up here that actually house the iron sight. It is an aperture style there with a little flip up, so you can go to a little V or an aperture if you go like so. Now, either option is up to you. Like anything with these blasters, using these sights is sort of not really that great of a deal. If you want an optic that works, I wouldn't really use the standard iron sights because they're not accurate enough to rely on. They're good for an indicator and that's about it. So that is what it is. Now when you do get it, moving on to the booty, because who doesn't like a good ass? The buttstock is not actually connected to the blaster. There is a pin just there, goes all the way through. You have to put that in. Now it's not difficult, it just requires a little bit of motivation to get it finally in, but that's it. And from there it is very simple. Now it is collapsible, and there is a tab just there on the left hand side which locks it in, very similar to most H&K style collapsible stocks. They always slide in, which means if you want to run it as an SMG shortened like that, which I probably will, that is an option. Or obviously you can run with the buttstock. Now I will get to this later on. The reason why I'm not really a fan of having a buttstock on this, or at least extended, is because the length of this blaster now is the same as any rifle. So why bother with an SMG when you can just get a rifle? I will probably, majority of the time, run like this when I actually play because I want something small form factor for like CQB, running around cover, that sort of thing. But the option of collapsing and using is there, which is nice. It is, again, just a nylon buttstock with a small hard rubber pad there, nothing special. And in order to actually put in the buttstock, just has a little tab there. So if you're used to the G36 or, I don't know about the MP5, but any of the H&K style collapsible sockets, that's how they work, is with a tab just on the side. It does lock in quite well, it is quite firm. And then in the back, just there, you have your battery casing. And that's about it. Like, to be honest, there's not really a whole lot to look at on this. It is fairly small and fairly basic. Not a bad thing at all. So with that, we will move on to section 2 and the basic operations. Now, the first one I'm going to look at is obviously the battery. So like I mentioned, your battery case and housing is just in the back there. So right in the back of the blaster. Tab can be a little bit annoying because it's quite solid, and even with fingernails it can be quite painful to deal with. Only got it open. So that just opens there. It does expose the back end of the Gen 8 gearbox. So it is a Gen 8 gearbox. You can sort of see the spring retainer in there. Meaning that if you want to modify it, do any of that sort of stuff, it should be fairly straightforward to do. Now, I will get onto that towards the end, but to give you a hint, I am not going to leave this standard because I'm not really a fan of it standard. But anyway, you have quite a long battery cable and your standard little black gel ball gun connection. There is actually quite a bit of space in that battery compartment too, so you could probably easily get a big Turnigy or Airsoft style battery in there. Connecting up is pretty straightforward. Like I said, it is just a standard black battery connection, so just plug that in. It does come with a 7.4 volt battery standard. Every single one I've seen comes with that. It is one of these small little brick types that I've seen. Now this is actually my AK battery, because my UMP brick battery, which is just a generic small 7.4 volt brick, it actually came and is not holding charge, which is nice. So that Chinese quality. Just cram all that in the back there, flip that back up, and we're now live. Of course, we do need some gels, so I'll pop that back so it's out of the way, and we'll get on to the magazine. Now, the magazine is a stick type mag, as you can see. Now, it doesn't seem like it will hold a huge amount of capacity, but it's actually surprisingly more than you would think. It's more than the MP7 at least, which is nice because that was atrocious. Pretty straightforward. It is automatic, so you do have mag terminals there. Don't go tipping water into this. There is a motor down there. You'll destroy it. Little slot to catch in, and your little mag release catch. Now, it is a bit weird because it is not designed to be flat. It's designed to sit on an angle like so. I'll get to that when we put it in. To fill it up, just a simple door just there at the front. Like so. You can just fill that up with gels as per usual. So, I'm just going to fill that up now. Now, these are just your standard hardened milkies. They're not the special LDT heavy milkies that you would have seen me do in... Oh, there goes a couple. That way. Which you would have seen me using in a previous video. My festive bottle down out of the way. And it's pretty straightforward. So, believe it or not, you do have a couple of springs in there for your mag terminals, and your feed is on the back. So, when you look at the first way, a lot of people make the mistake of trying to put it in like so, with the gel ball feed tube up the front. That is the wrong way around. It does actually go backwards like that. So that slant should sit relatively flush with the front of that. It is straightforward, just push it in and you're in. That's it. Mag release there. When you're ready, just pull that forward and you can pull the whole thing out. Ambidextrous, so if you are a left-hand shoot, you can just go like that. So I do like H&K stuff. They do tend to make their stuff ambidextrous, which is nice. That is not a mag prime. Now, I've heard you can install a mag prime on that, however, it doesn't come with one, so be aware of that. You will have to charge your mag either manually or by firing dry, which I know some people don't like, but yeah, that's about all there is for that. Now that's it for the operations. It's fairly straightforward. One thing I do want to show you is the reason why I'm not really a fan of it with the stock out is because it's about the same length as an ACR. It was never going to be the same length as the AK. But an old AK, it's about the same length. That stock is actually quite long. To me, it's nice to have a different style of blaster, but it seems too long with the stock out. I just want something smaller, form factor, SMG style. That's why I will prefer to run this collapsed. But that's just me. The other thing is, it does actually feel quite nice when you put it to your shoulder. You know, you go like that, you run around. It does feel quite good. So I do like it. It feels good. It has not a lot of weight in it, which is nice. There is something banging around in there which is making noise. I can't figure out what it is, so just be aware of that. But yeah, so that is that blaster in a nutshell. So what we will do now is we will jump into section 3 in the chrono testing and accuracy testing. Something I am going to say before we do that though is the blaster that I originally got was averaging around 130 to 150 FPS, and we tested this one and it was averaging higher than that standard Gen 8 area, which is what I'm expecting it to do here and what I would expect them to do anyway. So I think that one had a busted O-ring. Now the gameplay footage you're going to see later on is with that blaster with the busted O-ring, so it's not really 100% representative, although it is going to give you an idea still. The problem is, even if without the busted O-ring, this is going to have some limitations on the FPS. The reasons are, it's got a plastic barrel, yeah, cool, but also the barrel's only this long. So that's a tiny, tiny inner barrel. So there's not a lot of area to actually get that pressure up. So there is that as well. But just be aware of that. So gameplay footage is going to be with a blaster that does have something wrong internally. We didn't realize until, because I picked it up that day. Yeah, I wasn't able to get out and play with this one. But if you do have a problem with like that with your blaster straight out of the box, go talk to your supplier. Most of the retailers are fairly straightforward with that sort of stuff, and they will give you a new one and get it fixed or just repair it or something like that. So usually they are fairly good on that, and there are certain rules with fair trade around what you can and can't return. Some of that is clearly defective. It shouldn't be that low. Just be aware of that one. Anyway, I'll set up the chrono. We'll get into it. Alright, so I've charged up the magazine, cleared it out. This long stick magazine is kind of annoying, but anyway, we'll get into it. So a couple of low ones there, but I don't think that that's a standard. I think that might just be on the cycle. The average is still pretty low though, so I did see quite a few around the 180 mark, but a lot of them seem to be dipping. So I would say your average is actually around 170. And the reason that average is lower is because there were a couple of low ones when I was first clearing it out which were shattered. So that average on there is not 100% accurate. So I'll go with 170 FPS average. It's not quite as good as standard M8 Gen 8 M4A1, but not the worst out there. So yeah. What I will do though is I'll quickly load up the magazine with the new heavier Milkies just to see if there's any difference. Alright, loaded up with the new LDT heavier Milkies, charged up. Let's see what we get. Seems to be about the same, maybe slightly higher on some shots. There were a few odd ones there where I think I hit the side of the chrono, so that might be why some of those are really, really slow. I don't think that's accurate. So that's interesting. I might do the accuracy testing with those heavier Milkies just to see what happens. I don't think it's going to make it any worse, so let's head outside, check the accuracy out. Righto, so we're outside, heavier Milky Gel's loaded up, 7.4 volt battery. Let's get into it. Got the zoom cam back in action, so this should be good. So most of the ones that are firing properly are going pretty solid, accurate and gripping. However, some of them are just not firing very well and dropping straight out. I think that's what was messing up the chrono test as well. So move back to 20 meters and we'll see if we can keep it the same. Righto, 20 meters back, heavy Milky Gel's reloaded, see what we can get. I need to make sure that's turned on, otherwise this is a waste of time. So I am having to angle up a little bit just to make the full 20 meters, but not a huge amount, which is nice. I was actually expecting to angle up a bit more. And they seem to be firing fairly consistently, so that's nice. Maybe the blasters needed to be cycled a bit before it kicked in properly. Overall, not too bad for 20 meters. So I'll move up closely, I'll refill this magazine, see how long it takes to empty it out. Alright, let's do it. Now we're loaded. That was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. There you go, not half bad.
So far this UMP45 Gen8 has been a bit of a mixed bag. Once it got going, it did seem to go pretty well. The heavy gels didn't make really huge or even that noticeable a difference. There was a difference, but it was so slight it could just be the way I was looking at it. So I'll leave that up to you guys to interpret. Now what I'll do is I'll jump into some gameplay. Now, like I mentioned, this is with the one with the busted O-ring, so it was really underperforming. Not only that, but we had to cut the first game short because it started raining, and the second game was just sort of finishing that one off. So there's not a huge amount of footage here, just be aware of that. Otherwise, hope you enjoy it.
You can have one. Merry Christmas. Ethan, have your gun back.
There's a spare one if you want to use mine. It has
around the vector until the vector dies. This small. Yeah, good point. There we go. So different firing with this that's actually accurate.
Yeah. Watch out, we got a couple coming up. I can't shoot that far.
Yes! Oh, that's a good. Yeah, I'm out. Take my spot, I'll be back.
This is so shit. I got no range. I think I got him. Or someone else got him, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I've got two. I'll cover you.
Shit, I'm out. Woo! Watch out, Zach. Hit! Can run. That's right, I'm going to the thunder box. No one join me. Toilet. That's why I didn't run. Saw that coming. Yay, there goes the job.
We're still getting him in the back.
Yay! I got him. I have 130 FPS. If I get you, you should live in shame. Getting shot from the top. Yeah. I was watching him hit your ass. I'm like, yeah. Ah.
Yeah, bro.
Didn't go off.
No, it's just lying there.
Oh.
Damn it.
It did go off. The ground just held it.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh well.
So I hope you enjoyed that gameplay. Sorry that it was unfortunately one with the busted O-rings. Not a lot I could do about that on the day, and I haven't had a chance to get back out there. But even so, it was like, it is a nice blaster to handle. So what I might do is I'll quickly jump over into section 5 and the final thoughts. Honestly, I do like the UMP45. The body is a nylon construction. It feels fairly sturdy. It's something different, and it is nice to run around with. I'm not really a fan of the overall length for an SMG, but that's a personal preference. Obviously, that's just me. And the Gen 8 gearbox is pretty much going to be standard M4A1 JM Gen 8 capability. Yeah, so realistically, if you're happy to do even minor modifications, or you really like this blaster and you're playing mostly in close quarter areas, it would be a good pickup for you. But if you're not really interested in modifying and you want something that's for outdoor and more potentially longer ranges, then maybe something else would be better suited. I do like it. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to modify it slightly and have a bit of fun with it though, because I do enjoy it and I do like the shape. Recommended accessories, pretty straightforward. To be honest, if you're going to buy this, first things I recommend you do, chuck a green O-ring in it, chuck an alloy barrel in it, get a hop up. You need that just to get that little bit of extra range and power behind the shot, and also obviously to make it a little bit more accurate. Hopefully it should push it well over 200 FPS at that point consistently, which would be nice. The other one is you don't need an 11 volt battery. It runs fine on a 7.4, although that will increase your fire rate. I don't recommend doing that though, because the magazine capacity, while still not bad, is not all that great. So I do recommend at least 2 extra magazines, so a total of 3 realistically, and that should see you through most games without too much drama, to be honest. So that's all I've got for you today on the review. What I do have coming up is a couple of other blasters I'm hoping to get my hands on, potentially the BLG, I think it is M16, the one that looks like an M16A1. I'm waiting for the LDT HK416 to come in, because by the looks of things that looks awesome. Also the JM11 is not far away, so Jinming AK with a Gen 8 or V2 or V3 style gearbox. Not 100% sure, there are some photos of it, but I'm definitely keen for that. It's an AK12 anyway. So hopefully that'll be good. Usually the JM stuff is fairly well appropriate and capable out of the box, and plenty of options for modification, which is also good, because it'd be nice to get some AKs out in the field as opposed to just M4s everywhere. But I digress. I have got a channel chat video coming up, so if you've got a question you'd like me to answer or something you're curious on, feel free to post it down below or somewhere on my Facebook page. I will make a post about that soon, so that way you can post questions there if you wish to do so. Make sure you jump on, like the page, follow the page, subscribe, like the video if you liked it. Comment down below if you got any queries, or if you liked the video, didn't like the video. Happy to hear all thoughts. If you want to support the channel, there are links to my PayPal and Buy Me a Pepsi Max down the bottom of the description. So, of course, it is 100% optional. Any support you give me is much appreciated, though. And, yeah, I suppose that's all about, yeah, that's about all I've got for you. Alright, look at that. Only just over half an hour. That's not too bad. We're getting shorter and shorter. Alright, I'll catch you later, everyone.